Welcome back to Slacker Gaming, and welcome back to a brand new episode of tips and tricks on the hitting portion of MLB The Show 21. In this video, we're going to talk about the options that are available for you to use, some settings that I use and most people use that works very well, and then we're going to talk about the tips and tricks of how you can get better while hitting. So if you want to watch that, stick around. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the options, and it's going to be, right now we're in custom practice, but if you hit the start button, go down to options, hit that, and then go to gameplay, it will give you the options for batting and base running. This is also where you set the pitching stuff, but that will be another video, so make sure you stick around for that one. But the batting and base running is in the same thing, and we are on the basic tab. And what you're going to do, hitting difficulty, don't worry about that really. Just I do dynamic just because I want it to change with how well I'm hitting. If I'm hitting well, it'll make the difficulty harder. If I'm not hitting so well, it'll drop it down so I can get back on track. The hitting view is very, very important, and it is something that you're going to have to play with and that you're going to have to get used to. But first of all, you need to learn everything else before you worry about your hitting view. And right now what I use is the strike zone hitting view, but this is going to be how close you are to. So you see my screen here, I'm very, very close in on the pitches, and that's going to be how you play the game, how you view it. There's many different angles, so make sure you go in there and change those with how you want to do it. Let's go, just to show you something different, let's go wide here, apply the changes, and boom, here we go. So this is going to be how you view the pitches and how you hit for the ball incoming. The in-play view offense, I wouldn't really worry about this. This stuff is kind of just however you want it to be. It's not really something it's too crazy. The ball trail is if you hit the ball, when does it show up? The hitting interface is going to be your next big thing here. Right now, I am currently running zone. I like zone. You could do pure analog, directional, or zone. I like the zone because you have more control over where you hit it, how hard you hit it, all of that stuff. So the directional, you're going to use a left stick to focus on inside or outside pitches, and then you're going to swing at them. So if the ball's inside, you're going to push it inside and hit it. Outside, same thing. If it's right down the middle, you're going to stay in the middle. And that I don't feel like you have as much control over hitting. It's probably more control over the pure analog, which is basically you just swing with, like, you don't have any choice of, I guess, where you hit it. You mostly just hit it when the ball comes in. So if you're starting out and you're really struggling with just hitting, just do pure analog, get used to the hitting, get used to the timing, and then go ahead and switch to zone. So if you're wanting directional, you see here these little arrows, these are going to tell me like where I think the ball's going, and you kind of have to change with it. So if the ball's inside, you have to look inside. If it's outside, down, all this stuff, which you could do, but I don't feel like you have as much control over where the ball is hit. But when you're in zone, you'll see this thing going around, and this is the PCI, and I will go over the settings here on what they do, but this is the PCI and how you hit the baseball and where you're going to locate it and all that stuff. We'll go over that here in a second, but this is what most people use to hit, and you just have much more control over it. So if they throw it like high or down, you have control whether or not you want it to be more of a pop-up, try to hit a pitch like that, or if you want to be over the top and hit a ground ball. You have more options to be able to do that with the zone hitting. The next part is the input type, and I use buttons because you have the ability to bunt with Y. X, if you're on Xbox, X is going to be your power swing, A is going to be your contact swing, and B is going to be kind of just fighting to stay alive, kind of just like a contact swing, but you're more likely just to kind of foul off pitches that aren't so good. You could do analog or buttons. The analog I used to do, and that's like you go down and flick with your right thumbstick, but buttons I feel like you have much more control in it. You could actually do it quicker and your timing's more on while using the buttons. If you do use analog, this is where you will do that here. So you could either stride and just not have to worry about hitting, or you could do the flick, which you go flick down on the right thumbstick and then up to hit, and it's a lot more difficult, but again, that's only available if you are on analog. The next thing to talk about is the PCI, and that is the plate coverage indicator. You can turn it off. I would not suggest that unless you are very, very good at the game. But while it is on, you have the option to see what you see here. So you see how it's blue. You see there's like 3 dots with kind of lines on them, and then you see kind of squigglies on the outside that I guess make a wedge type of combination. So what that is this PCI, and as you can see in the middle, there's the altitude. You could do diamonds, circles, you could do kind of whatever you want. I use the altitude because it shows me kind of where your middle is, and if you wanted to have a higher altitude, you want to keep it down, which makes sense. The PCI, you could do starfire, you could do a bunch of different things. I enjoy the wedge because it makes sense of the bat. The bat gets bigger the further out you go on the plate. Right now I do not have a PCI outer, but you can just play around with these and find what you want. And then your PCI color as well, play around. You could do many different things, and I would play with these, and you might have to change these in the middle of games if you start running into problems with being able to see your PCI color. You also have the transparency, which you could set it to 100, and you could see basically dead blue here, or you could set it to a different transparency. I have mine set to 70 so that I can see pretty well on pitches that are down, or if the person behind me is in the way. Like sometimes you lose your PCI, so having a 70% transparency to me is the best option for me. And then the PCI fade out is basically the fade out will happen just before the delivery of the pitch. So this I could do all. So if we set it to all, when we have our PCI here, we're looking, the pitch is going, and boom, our PCI goes away, which to me is not good. I don't want to see that. I don't know where my PCI is. So that might be something if you want the outer just to go away, if you want the inner to go away, if you don't want anything to go away, that's going to be that option there. And just like that, you can now hit. So I went over the options and the settings that you have for the hitting. The last thing I'm going to do is go over some tips that I know while hitting. I also want to go over some ways of practicing these and ways of getting better hitting. So as you see here, I showed you all my settings, and this is what you see because of those settings. And the best thing to do is going to be to honestly just practice. You might wonder why I'm just moving this around, and it's all about what you want to look at. And my biggest tip to you starting out is just keep it in the middle and react. If pitch is up and in, go up and in. If it's to the right and outside, do that. So keep it in the middle, kind of adjust to where the pitch is going, and kind of move around the PCI to that. The object of this is to line the PCI up with the ball, and when you do that, you make contact there, and then the bottom of the left will tell you how you did as far as where your PCI went, where the ball was hit, how the ball was hit, and that's really how you get the thing there. You can see I was late on that, so that automatically is going to send it to the opposite field. So if you're going to do that, being on the outside of the ball is not a good option. Same thing with this on the inside. I was late, so it's going to try to send it the other way, which lowers my chances of hits. So if the ball's on the inside, you want to be a tad bit early or perfect. If it's right down the middle, you want to be perfect. And then if it's on the outside of the plate, you want to be just a tad bit late, and that will shoot it to the opposite field. Those are your best chances of getting hits. Right there, perfect means I swung at the perfect time. I also lined it up pretty well, so that probably would have been a hit. And it's the same thing over and over again, and you're just going to practice. I know you don't want to hear about practice, but if you go to custom practice mode, you could change anything you want to here. You could do batting, you could change what pitches you want to see, where you want to see them located. So if you're struggling at like a high-end inside fastball, you go here, do this, and then every single pitch will be thrown to you high-end inside. And high-end inside is kind of the hardest pitch to hit in real life. On this game, everything, the high inside fastball, it's just hard to get around on the pitch and make good contact. So the next tip I'm going to tell you is kind of like, it's not cheating, but you cheat with your PCI, meaning if there is a pitch that you struggle with, which mine is a high inside fastball, I struggle with hitting pitches up. And so I actually raise my PCI up before the pitch even comes. And then it's less of a reaction to have to take the time to go up. My PCI is already up there. And then I could just adjust basically left or right based on where the ball's coming in. Whereas if I start from down here and try to go up, I'm going to pop up a lot more because I don't get my PCI up quick enough. So cheat on what you have problems with. If you have problems with getting the ball down or getting your PCI down, feel free to cheat down a little bit and then just adjust. And that's what I do when hitting. I actually look up, and then if it's down, it's easier for me to push all the way down than it is to push all the way up and try to get it on. So that's why I start up in the zone and then fall my PCI down. So the next tip I'm going to tell you is, especially when you're starting, you don't even really have to swing or hit or anything. I don't want you to get discouraged, but I want you to follow the ball. So let's say you're going here and you're in the middle and we're going to follow the ball. It's going to be high inside fastball. I just want you to follow the ball, like where the PCI should end up, and just get used to like where you're aiming. So here, another high inside fastball. I want you just to get used to where the pitch location is at and where your PCI should go before you ever try to worry about hitting and all that. Because if you try hitting and stuff, you're going to get so involved in trying to just hit the ball that you're not paying attention to where your PCI is. And honestly, it all comes back to timing, comes back to PCI placement, comes back to your hitter's contact, your hitter's power, your hitter's everything. And so there's a lot that has to happen for you to be able to make good contact, to hit for home runs and all that good stuff. The other thing is when you start out, hit for contact first. Do not hit for power. Do not hit for power starting out, because I can tell you, you will only get frustrated because, one, your PCI is going to be smaller, and to be honest with you, you don't see that big a difference as far as a guy that can hit and a guy that can't. So right there was a power swing, and I ended up hitting it to the wall. And we're going to try to do the same exact thing with the contact and see the outcome there. The outcomes are very similar, and you're going to see a lot of pop-up outs because you used the power swing instead of the contact. Yes, you could still hit home runs as contact. All I do is swing contact, and I hit plenty of home runs. So keep that in mind. It's not like you're like, well, if I only hit contact, I'm only ever going to hit it in the field of play. That's not true. You can hit home runs with contact swings. Power swings, you're more likely to hit home runs, but you're also more likely to fly out because your PCI is smaller and because you just have so much power that you have to hit it pretty much square on in order for you to hit a home run. So the last thing to do is just going over here and learning how to play the show. I was in custom practice throughout this episode. That's where you can go. You can also go to Options Explorer. Once you jump into the game, it will tell you kind of what I showed you earlier about what directional hitting is, zone hitting, pure analog. You're going to kind of choose which one you want. I enjoy the zone hitting, and then try it now and it will show you how to do it. But this is basically just for helping you determine what you want to do. You could also do it for base running, pitching, fielding, all that. And then once you figure out what you like, if it's zone hitting, if it's pure analog or directional hitting, once you find that out and you play with it a little while, then it's best to go back to the actual practice itself. So custom practice itself, you're going to go into the game, and it's going to be more of a fine tune of things once you've used the Options Explorer and figured out how you want to hit, how you want to run, all that good stuff. Then you want to come into custom practice and put that to use. You can also, basically in here, you could do anything you want. You can learn how to hit just four seams. You can learn how to hit this, hit that. If you're struggling versus lefties, if you're struggling versus righties, you could change that. You can also change if you want to see stuff down. So if you want to do all just low and you want to learn how to hit low pitches, it will just throw you low pitches, and you can learn how to hit those, and it would be better for you in the end. So that's going to be it for the hitting tips video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also comment down below, let me know if it's working for you, if it's helpful, or if you still have any other questions about it. Feel free to comment those down below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Till next time, Slacker out.